Good afternoon,
Hi, good afternoon.
Yolanda.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here today. I
I just
am
can't I can't see you, but that's about it.
right. That's the issue. My camera is showing that it's active, but for some reason it is not. And I can see myself on my screen, and I know that
Okay.
I'm active, but for some reason it is not. It's not. I don't understand why it's not picking up. I was just using my
Okay.
webcam as recently as this morning.
Okay.
So if you could just be patient for just a moment. I'm looking at
Not a problem.
myself.
Not a
I,
problem.
I okay. I see myself in my screen,
Okay.
but it's not showing for some reason. That
Okay.
is odd. That is very odd.
Okay.
Um,
Listen, I understand about technical difficulties. Don't worry.
oh my gosh. How was your day there?
Oh, great, great. I'm actually visiting in North Carolina. My daughter lives here.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good. 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 Are they
Yeah.
reopening that part of North Carolina?
Some part of it they still are shelter in place. Like some of the
Okay.
restaurants, you can come in and get your stuff and leave.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand. Totally understand.
Yeah. I need
All
to break
right.
away from New York a minute.
Ah, I see. I see. I see. Okay. Well, hopefully everybody is safe and well. I know that I think, shutting down, it seems to have been the easy part versus the reopening part. Cause you're wondering, where can I go? Where should I go? How many people should I be exposed to?
Mhm.
Uh, so yes,
Sorry.
absolutely.
There we go.
Totally
I'm trying to
understand.
think a little bit better lighting. There we go.
Totally understand. Totally understand. Um, let me do this. Okay. If this doesn't work, I may
Uh-huh.
have to, we may have to go live on Instagram, Yolanda.
Okay. Oh, there you go.
I'm
Okay.
still, do you see me now?
No, I just see it's like not an image, it's like a white circle. I guess
Really?
we image, yeah, and that's it.
Okay. All right. I can see my face
Okay.
here, but for some reason it's still not showing me. And
Gotcha.
I mean, the same thing that I clicked for remove you from or add you to the stream.
Uh-huh.
It's so let me just do a refresh here.
Okay.
Let me just do a refresh here. Okay.
Okay.
I just need to refresh.
There you go.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here today. Super excited about having you. To everybody who is watching the future replay of this, I certainly apologize about the technical challenges that we've had, but we are here joined by Yolanda of Coffee Meets Culture.
Yes.
How are you today, Yolanda?
Doing great, doing great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, I know that you're based in New York, so are you there now? How is it going?
Okay.
How has the shelter in place been for you during this time?
Yeah, I'm in New York. I live in Long Island,
Okay.
born and raised there.
Wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, shelter in place is still going on. The county
Uh-huh.
that I live in, we're very close to New York City.
Ah,
So
I
the
see.
county that I live in, it's the second highest COVID numbers outside of New York City itself.
Wow. Okay.
Exactly. So it's a lot. And I can
Wow.
only attribute that to we have a lot of people who commute. You work in
Yeah.
my county and New York, the boroughs of New York is 15 minutes away. So people
Right.
constantly commute back and forth. And I
Yes.
think that's really what the brunt, a lot of people work there. And then when they were put in shelter in place, they were hit with the COVID.
Wow. Wow.
Unfortunately.
So
Yeah.
a lot of Uber Eats, a lot of DoorDash, a lot of Grubhub, a lot of
Yes.
takeout. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes. A lot of
Okay.
cooking at home for me.
A lot of cooking at home for you.
A lot of cooking. A lot of cooking.
Totally understand. Totally understand.
Yes.
I think that, obviously being here in Florida, we're on one side, or at least on in Jacksonville, we're neighboring the Atlantic Ocean. So a lot of the amenities that come along with, being in Florida, such as access to the beach and just the warmer weather, has really, at this date, has really forced, I think, some state officials to be proactive with reopening. And I think it's been helpful in a few ways to reopen gradually. So we're just now at the place where we're in phase 2 in Jacksonville, where restaurants are starting to open up to a certain capacity. The beaches are open up to a certain capacity just for, obviously getting in the water, but no lounging, no beach towels, no, just doing what you normally would do. But thanks so much for being here with me today. It's interesting that we connected through a Facebook group.
Oh yeah, just
okay.
There you go.
We connected through a Facebook group by Charles with T-shirt Millionaires, and just really enjoyed the connectivity, not just with your brand, but all of the brands throughout the process. And so certainly wanted to be able to have an opportunity to have a spring fashion show. That was the original intent. At the start of 2020, I had all of these great ideas that, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And then right around about the middle of March, it just kind of went, south downhill. But nevertheless, thank you so much for being here today. So it's really going to be conversational style. We'd love to hear more about Coffee Meets Culture, your journey to launching this particular this brand, and how is it going for you. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about Yolanda and how you got started with Coffee Meets Culture.
Okay. My name is Yolanda Hutchison.
Yeah.
I am a social worker by profession.
Oh, nice.
Yes, I'm a social worker by profession. And part of the reason that I kind of started Coffee Meets Culture.
Yeah.
First, let me go, because I know both of us have something in common. So let me start this here.
Right.
Yes. So part of my education is through HBCU.
Really?
Yes.
I'm a rattler. Yes. Proud Florida graduate.
I attended North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina.
Nice.
North Carolina Eagles.
Okay.
And so I know we had that in common.
Yes. Go me at.
HBCU experience.
Right.
And so that's it. I went to school here in North Carolina. I'm currently here now visiting my daughter, who's a North Carolina A&T student.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And so all my life, I have been brought up in an entrepreneur family.
Yes.
My family has owned a pest control company. We sold it a few years ago, but a pest control company since 1975.
Yes.
And so all my life, my parents have worked for themselves. And I've got a chance to see the hustle, the grind that they did, and set the groundwork for us, future entrepreneurs, and so to kind of push forward with the brand, like I said, I'm a social worker. My family, my brother and my sister-in-law own a specialty coffee shop in Long Island called Buy Good Coffee.
Okay.
And every time on the weekend or every time I'm visiting, I sit in the coffee shop and I'm sitting and having such wonderful conversations with people from all walks of life.
Right.
And so when you walk into a coffee shop, sometimes people don't see enough of us who own specialty coffee shops.
Right.
And they always ask, like, who's the owner?
Right.
My brother's always like, well, I am.
Right.
So, and part of that is him educating people on specialty coffee. I mean, he's a coffee brainiac.
I see.
With different regions of the world, and coffee comes from here and there. And when I'm sitting there, I'm always meeting people from everywhere, from different religions, different faiths and things. And we strike up such good conversations that we are normally there for hours sometimes, just engaging.
Sweet.
And so with that, I may not have ran across people who from other places or engage in different things if it wasn't for that space for the coffee shop.
Definitely. So, food, tea, coffee, it certainly has a way of building and bridging connections for us. I think that certainly during this particular time, it helps when we can have conversation starters, especially with so many people being physically distant, socially distant, that we still have an opportunity to find ways to connect with other people. So the name of the brand, Coffee Meets Culture, is certainly unique. Awesome. So how did the idea of coffee and conversations and interacting with a very diverse group of people, how did that translate or initiate the desire to start a brand around it?
Well, I with the conversations,
Right.
I just thought, let me bring this, and it's a t-shirt brand.
Right.
But sometimes we also have a message, just like you have a message with your
Right.
brand. And it's just meeting the two,
Right.
And part of that, I am excited. And sometimes when I get a chance to go visit different places, is to go and to visit that specialty coffee shop and strike up conversations with the owners or the people that are there. And
Great.
and I say, you know what, let me bring the message
right
and put it on, on the t-shirts or sweatshirts and bring it to the people. And it's just something really fun. I think I'm having a lot of fun doing it. And it's just something fun to bring together that message.
Right. What good is it to have a brand or any type of effort if you're not having fun around the product, or fun around the process? Because the enjoyment obviously comes from, making sales and things of that sort. But if you're not enjoying the journey, then it has very little meaning to the overall effort. So kudos and shout out to you for doing that. Certainly, as I've shared throughout this process, just behind the scenes, sometimes my wife and I laugh about just the whole process of making shirts, here at home. Whereas, what's going on with the lights? Because, the machines are running. And so the lights sometimes will flicker just because it's using so much power. But, everything is OK. But sometimes you just got to find small creative ways to enjoy the journey of what you're doing. So definitely can attest to that. So how did you get started with your brand? I mean, as far as the logo design, commitment to shirts, how long have you been in part of that process? Talk a little bit about the genesis of Coffee Meets Culture.
Okay. I enlisted a freelancer to do my logo. I'm not creative at all in that aspect. So I kind of bought the names and I said, this is kind of like what I'm looking for. And it came out with like a coffee stain with a little splat on the side. On the side. And so that's where it is. I personally don't print my shirts or anything like that. So the process is trying to find and information. First of all, where it started was YouTube. Was a wealth of information for me. And I've been really consistently watching YouTube for 2 years. My daughter has done so for many years, and I didn't know that a wealth of information is on here. That's why I tell people, if you are starting a business, especially this e-commerce space for me is very different from the brick and mortar that my brother has and the brick and mortar that my family had. So that's where I started with gathering the information. And certainly is there a need for the shirt in a space? And definitely people from around the world drink coffee.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I think of all the brands that I've seen inside of that Facebook group, it certainly is as a testament to know that there is one totally connected to a certain type of food or beverage. So you definitely have a unique niche attached to your brand. Tell me, if you don't mind. So we've talked a little about, how to go about getting a logo, getting started, because I think for anyone who's viewing this, they will find some of the smallest nuggets helpful, that even if you aren't a graphic designer, that there are websites that you can leverage to keep the ball moving forward so that we all can focus best on what we know how to do. So talk a little bit about that so you got your logo, you decided to move forward with it. What was that first sale like, or that first person wearing your product like? What was that like? What was that feeling like?
Oh, let me tell you something. It's just awesome. When you take the logo and you take whatever words that you have and you place it on your shirt and you see it for the first time on screen, or, you get that package and you're like, oh my gosh, this is real. For those of you who are listening out there and say, I don't have the know-how, I don't have this and that in place. listen, platforms like this, you have a wealth of knowledge right there.
Yes.
I have the first time someone had bought my shirt, I was ecstatic because I usually connect with people on Instagram.
Okay. Yes.
And that's where
Right.
I usually see people and they're asking me about the brand and they want a shirt. And I tell them where to go. And just to see someone send me a picture and say, hey, I got this. And I'm like, oh my goodness, little old me, and someone is wearing it and, spreading the message. So,
right. Soon to be big old you. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, certainly I think that that feeling I can attest to the same as well, especially, once they share it, that, you created something that they found value in, that they were willing to exchange, their hard-earned money for. Certainly is a very cool feeling, and I know that is something that we all thrive for. It's not just the fun and you've got the systems in place, but actually making sales as well. In terms of any impact on what you've been able to do in the past couple of weeks, past couple of months, as it relates to the pandemic. Talk a little bit about that, how that has impacted your business, and maybe some things that you had to tweak for the better that maybe you would not have done if this outbreak had not taken place.
Listen, if you have nothing, during this time, you have nothing but time,
right?
To think about other things. And so I do have a chance now to kind of sit down and try to hone in on, even though when we start a niche, if you will, and it's like, how do I further that? How do I hone that in a little bit to do some more research? And listen, I'm constantly evolving.
Right.
One thing that came about, unfortunately, during this time, we have certain social issues, things that happen in Georgia. I'm sure that people are aware of a young man who lost his life due to Senseless Act. And I actually created a shirt for myself, being that I created a shirt for myself. And then it's really not a part of my brand, but I created something. And that's during this time that was, helped me to kind of think and say, there's some other things, some other possible things that are out there, along with spreading a message, just like social injustice. Right. And so that's one thing that I came up with, a t-shirt that I came up with. But,
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. That is so neat. I think that, as you attested to, so much time is on our hands that we don't have an excuse not to be able to strategize and think and connect and build relationships with, because it's all in perspective. Yes, it may have derailed some plans that we had. It may have, taken us for a loop. But during this time and season, I think if we just, stretch ourselves a little bit in the direction of creativity and ingenuity, it certainly can be a huge source of inspiration for us all. That is so cool. Question for you: in terms of taking a look at where your brand is right now, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned as an apparel brand owner that you can share with someone else?
The biggest lesson, I would say, I think you just hit on it about being creative. How can I take this piece of it and kind of tweak it a little bit and learn something? Is there something out there that I'm not tapping into? Is it even strategizing now? Is just putting your goals and strategies in place. I think that's one of the biggest lesson that I've learned. So when we all come out of this pandemic, I'm still going to be there and be present. But when we are opening back up, what am I going to be doing now? in the future.
Yes. I think one of the things that I've really taken a liking to with, in a good way, related to the pandemic, is just how the music industry and many artists have totally revamped some of their processes. Now, granted, some are, having a challenging time because they were so accustomed to being on the road and having gigs. And obviously there's the backstage crew that's been significantly impacted. But I have seen a number of artists take to the internet and offer virtual concerts. I'm sure we've all seen or heard of the breaking the Instagram server system between Teddy Riley and Babyface. I mean, how epic was that battle? Just to see that, even though it was fun, but just to know that we don't have to stop what we're doing just because the way that we thought we were going to be able to do it has been limited in some ways. I think that just allowing ourselves to think just a little bit differently about what else can we do. It's sort of like, your grandmother back in the day. It may not have been the meal that you wanted, but she made something out of nothing in many respects. So certainly I think the level of ingenuity that we have has got to take it to another level during this particular time. So you're a social worker.
Yes.
Business is not full-time yet. So there has to be a level of balance or harmony or rhythm or systems in place that will help you keep both afloat while one replaces the other. Share a little bit about how the process has been between balancing what you do traditionally in social work versus where you are and what you hope to do with your brand. How does that process look for you?
Oh, yes, I'm still working. I'm not working. I work every other day. Right. I investigate sex abuse cases for children. So that's basically what I do. So we're constantly busy. And so the balance is, for me, having a plan in place every day. I go to work, and then I usually write down in my journal or a agenda what I have in place. Like, okay, I'm going to do Instagram post this day. I'm going to do a video this day or in the afternoon or whatever. So I heavily, use my agenda and put a timeline in place, and that just helps me out. And trying to balance work, because even when I go home, sometimes my job doesn't stop as a social worker. I have police calling me, detectives calling me, or families calling me in crisis because we deal with such a sensitive topic.
Absolutely.
So I try to find a balance between that and also family. That's all in the mix too as well.
Right. Totally get it. Totally get it. I think that I think it was Tony Dungy, who's a famous football coach. He said, if you plan to fail, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. And I think having just the small items like an agenda or a post-it note system or some other type of system in place that helps you become more effective is always key. And so it's helpful that we are able to look at our best practices that enable us to be successful brand owners, so that as we grow, we learn from these things. So it's not just that I don't have all the time in the world, but I have these tools and strategies in place that help me to keep both afloat, so that there's continuous revenue coming in at the same time. In terms of lessons that you've learned throughout this process, whether it be double checking sizes, ways to save on shipping, what are some of the biggest lessons that you have learned throughout the process of having a brand?
Okay, listen. Part of that to me is one of the lessons that I've learned is being an example too as well. You never know who is watching. And so I take that into consideration. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. I watch other brands, and certainly I am conscious of what I'm putting out and what the message that I'm sending out. So
yeah. I think that you're so spot on with what you're putting out, and excellence is key. Our next sale is our next sale. So, it's not enough just to have in place the idea, but it has to boil down to the level of execution that's there as well. I'll never forget, recently I did a giveaway through a partnership with a different brand. And I was at the place where I was ready. I've got the address, I've got the packaging ready to go. I've got the shirts ready. And lo and behold, for that one design, I was out of that particular shirt that was, requested. Not only was I wasn't necessarily out of the design, I was out of the correct size. And I'm ready to just, ship it off. And part of my thought process is, hey, this is a giveaway. I want to value this recipient just as much as I would a customer. And I realized that it's important for me to make sure I have all the details. So sometimes even in just the small things, you learn that you have to be particularly careful with requesting information, sending information back out, so that you don't disappoint the end user. Because suppose I had decided well, it was a free giveaway, so I'm just going to send it to you anyway. Then they could have been severely disappointed and said, hey, I thank you for sending it, but this is the wrong size. I clearly put, so we always want to be conscious of putting individuals first that can help us. And that is ultimately our customers and those that are brand ambassadors for us. Totally agree.
Absolutely.
What are you looking forward to with Coffee Meets Culture? I know that spring is here, but the summer's around the corner. Are you going to try to leverage your daughter's in North Carolina A&T contacts? What are you looking forward to in 2020?
Oh yeah, listen, I know that, these millennials, they are the 20-something group, constantly, wearing things that are a little different. I'm like, should I put some pops of color in? They're always constantly doing little Instagram photo shoots. So right. Too as well. But one of the things that I like to do, like I said, I just mentioned, is like when I visit places, I love to visit other coffee shops. Nice. And I take photos and I enjoy what they have. So even the travel aspect of that, now I'm here in North Carolina, I say, okay, well, if I'm on my way back to New York, where can I go to pick up some things as well? And that's one thing I would love to do, is to travel abroad across the world and say, let me visit other people who are sipping on coffee too as well.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting that you said that, just since we've been talking, and granted, keep your business plan at the forefront. I don't want to derail or distract from anything, but I have just, had a thought, this would really be a dope traveling series of conversations about a number of different topics. So, let's say you're in North Carolina, maybe you meet up with a small business owner or a group of small business leaders, and you talk about, access to capital or crowdfunding or the process to make the best coffee within a certain flavor. I don't know. It's just, Coffee Meets Culture, that really has had my wheels turning about, this really could be traveling, or in this case, in this time, a virtual summit tour where, you talk to various business owners that are baristas, that are in the coffee area, whether that be distributing or whether that be, they have their own indie shops. I think that there is so much. Oh,
you hit something there.
That's seriously.
That's very good. Let me get my pen.
Right. Seriously. And, you could have some niche shirts like my coffee is mild like my attitude, or I like my coffee dark, or, just something that's like a subliminal message throughout the process to let them know that, hey, okay, coffee does meet culture. You know what I mean? So
that's very good. That's good. That is one thing I say, even in this space right here that we are in, that virtual, a lot of people are doing these virtual things. So at this time we have to tweak it, and I think this,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, obviously it'll be up to you and how you
but that's really good.
Twist and spin on it. But I think that there could be a lot to it, that coffee meets culture, and it's all around, and, you could have sponsorships related to, for this particular month, we're sponsored by this up and coming coffee shop or this particular coffee manufacturer, or you could have, I don't know, Keurig to come along and sponsor you for a series around back to school time, or, I don't know, however there's just so many different angles to allow coffee to literally meet culture, man. That's
excellent. Thank you so much.
That would be crazy.
That's good, because listen, just bouncing off that is awesome.
Right.
Even though I'm thinking can't try, this pandemic, can't really travel abroad and things like that, but to bring it to the people here. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. You can start with your brother or brother-in-law, I think you mentioned, and just, take it overseas from there.
That's good. Around the world. He roasts his own coffee, so a lot of people may not know about that process. My brother roasts his own coffee from his shop.
What? Get out of here!
Yes.
Oh man, I remember when. That's what 5 years from now we're like, I remember when. Now I can't even book an appointment with
there you.
So, yeah, gotcha.
Love it.
Totally understand. So, as it relates to the balance between, and we're wrapping up. As it relates to the balance between having a brand, having a balance with the job, looking at next and new opportunities that may exist, where do you then find the drive and the inspiration to continue what you're doing in the midst of it all?
Listen, just the motivation to me is, like I said, coming up with new ideas. Sometimes I just sit and I'm by myself and I have a pen in hand and I'm writing things down constantly. And that is where the inspiration comes from. Absolutely. If you can't inspire yourself, that's that's a hard place to be in. But you also can look towards others too and say, wow, this is what they're doing. I could do something similar, or I still can use, that's that inspiration to find that passion that's going to drive the brand. And I love it. It's inspiring to see that so many people during this time are coming up with businesses and different ideas. It really, and that's what motivates me too, as well. And then part of that is, trying to leave something for my children to say, hey, mom, my mom is 40 something. And listen, I'm just coming up with this last year and it's not too late. It's not too late to do something. It really isn't. For those of you out there, you think, oh, I'm 40, 50, 60, and I want to start this, but I'm a little too old. I'm this and that. And we put a lot of limitations on ourselves. I'm sorry, I went way to left, but
No, you're good. You're good. Yes, you're right.
It's not too late. It really isn't.
Right. You're absolutely right. It's not too late, and it's not for us to be held bondage either by the limitations that others perhaps will put on ourselves, on us because of their preconceived notions. Obviously we all have 24 hours in a day, but sometimes the hours of our days are filled with responsibilities that others may not have. And I think that as business owners, we have to be comfortable. Yes, we can achieve inspiration and be motivated by the success of others, but what we can't allow is for their success to define our success based upon a number of different factors. So I think that it's key, as you said, whether you are 40, 50, or 60, or maybe you may be 25 and you've still had hiccups, you've got to have a healthy balance of perspective and awareness about where you are and what tools that you have at your disposal to accomplish the things that God has placed in your heart and that you hope to accomplish. Absolutely. Yeah. One last question before we wrap up. And part of my emphasis to create Robinson Excel, and that's why, every piece of merchandise that we have has know, believe, and excel. And they all are more of a maturation of thought process. You've got to know what it is that you hope to know, and you got to believe it, because if you know it, but you don't believe it, then that can have a effect on the results that you achieve. Mm-hmm. But after you have a knowledge base, a healthy knowledge base of what it is that you want to do, even if it's just getting started, and you wholeheartedly believe in it, excel at it, do great with it, aspire for not just average and mediocrity, but strive for greatness, strive for that next level and appreciate the process, even though it may be difficult, appreciate the process that it takes to get there. So in your opinion, and I know that you have a lot of different, lenses to look from, but which is more important in business? Is it talent or hustle, and why?
Okay. I think it's the hustle. It could be a little bit both, but I really think it's the hustle. You can have a brand, but who's pushing that? Right. You know what I mean? You can have the talent and say, oh, even if I have to design this myself, I have the talent to do this and that. You have to push that. Yes. You have to get out here and connect with people and be on social media and wear your brand. When I go out, I wear my T-shirts. I'm constantly, I don't push to sell, but it could be just the message itself, just like you explained about your brand. You have to put that time to hustle. You have to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody, thank you for tuning in and listening in and watching. Yolanda, thanks so much for being here on the show. I know that in the future, it may be hard for any of us to get a hold of you, especially with the Coffee Meets Culture tour that'll be going on.
Yes, sir.
But hopefully we'll be able to get in on your calendar, a year from now, and just follow up and just see, hey, this is how the process has been. This is the journey thus far and what you're looking forward to in the future. But thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll be in touch again soon. Talk to you.
Okay. Bye-bye.